class, and welcome to the second day of section 4.3. We will still be focusing on writing equations in point-slope form, but today we're going to be converting between point-slope form and standard form. So in yesterday's lesson, we learned what point-slope form was, and then we learned how to convert between point-slope and slope-intercept. Now we're going to talk about point-slope and standard form. Again, a reminder, point-slope, y minus y1 is equal to m parentheses x minus x1. Standard form was ax plus by is equal to c. We had those four rules that we had to follow for standard form. The a value is positive. The second rule, x or y exists. It could be both of them, but at least one of them has to exist. Third rule, no fractions or decimals. That is going to come into play during this lesson. And the last one, a, b, and c can't be divided by the same number, aka the equation can't be reduced. So we need to still be following those four rules of standard form. So for example, we're going to start with y is equal to, not y is equal to, y minus 10 is equal to negative 6 parentheses x plus 9. Just like yesterday, our first step is going to be to get rid of those parentheses. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to distribute. So we got y minus 10 is equal to negative 6x plus 9. Notice, we've got a negative x value. We have a negative x value to start. If you have a negative x value to start, you are going to want to move the x. So I'm going to go ahead and add 6x to both sides. If it had been a positive 6x, we don't want to touch that. It's already positive. We want the x to be positive so we don't move it. So if negative x, we're going to move x. If positive x, we would have moved y. So we added 6x to both sides, which gives us 6x plus y minus 10 is equal to 9. Now in order to get an ax plus by format, I'm going to need to get rid of this 10 now. So in order to get rid of a negative 10, I'm going to add 10 to both sides, and I end up with 6x plus y is equal to 19. Check 1, x is positive. Check 2, x or y exists. Check 3, no fractions or decimals. And check 4, we cannot reduce those numbers. So this is our standard form equation. Go ahead and try this one on your own. Since x was positive this time, we did not want to move it so that 4x stays put. Subtracting the y from both sides and then adding 15 gives us 21 equals 4x minus y, or if you rewrote that to say 4x minus y is equal to 21, that is the exact same answer. Now, what happens when we have fractions involved? I'm going to go through a couple examples just so you can see the pattern here. Again, the first step is going to be distributing. So we still need to distribute. So I got y plus 16 is equal to 1/4 x minus, off to the side, I've got 1/4 times 13 over 1, which gives me 13 over 4. At this point in the process, you want to leave it as an improper fraction because our next step now is going to get rid of that. One of the rules of standard form is that we cannot have a fraction. The simplest way to get rid of a fraction is going to be to multiply the whole equation by the denominator. So I'm going to start by doing 4 times y, which is 4y. I'm now going to do 4 times 16, which gives me 64. When I do 1/4 times 4, I end up with 4 over 4, or just 1, aka the numerator, so 1x. So same thing now is going to happen when I do 4 times 13/4. I'm going to change that to 13. 13 times 4 is 52. 52 divided by 4 gives me 13. So again, that numerator stays in place. So the reason we're multiplying by the denominator, it gets rid of the denominator, but keeps the numerators. So you do not have to do this work off to the side because you are just able to keep those numerators. Then I need to go ahead and finish up. Our x right here is positive, so we don't move it. Again, x is positive, so we don't move it. You do not need to write that, but I'm just reminding you on each slide of what you are doing. So we're going to minus 4y from both sides, giving me 64 is equal to 1x minus 4y minus 13. To finish it up, I need to get that number off to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and add 13 to both sides, giving me a final answer of 77 is equal to 1x minus 4y. Again, x is positive, x or y exists, there is no more fractions or decimals, and we cannot reduce. Going through one more example before I have you try it on your own. Again, distributing. So we start by the distribution. Y minus 17 is going to give us negative 7/8 x. And then when we've got our two negatives, we're going to go ahead and multiply those. So we got negative 7/8 times negative 2 over 1, giving us positive 14 over 8. So we're going to add on 14 over 8. We now recognize that our denominator is 8. So we're going to go ahead and multiply this whole equation by 8, which is going to give us 8y minus 136 is equal to negative 7x. Again, we just keep the the numerator, plus 14. Again, just keep the numerator. Now, as you're going to notice, your x is negative, which means we need to move it. So in order to move negative 7x, we're going to add 7x to both sides, giving us 7x plus 8y minus 136 is equal to 14. I now need to add 136 to both sides of my equation. And when I do that, I end up with a final answer of 7x plus 8y is equal to 150. Again, x is positive, x or y exists, no fractions or decimals, and we can't reduce. Go ahead and try this one on your own. So we distributed and got y plus 3 is equal to 2/5 x plus 6. Then we went ahead and multiplied by the denominator. Notice when we multiplied this time, 2/5 times 15 gave us a whole number because it was 30 over 5. So we don't just keep the numerator now, we're going to multiply by that 30 value. X is positive, so we're going to subtract y from both sides and then subtract 30, giving us a final answer of negative 15 is equal to 2x minus 5y. If you have questions about this or anything else from the lesson, please let me know when you get to class.